Welcome back to the Dream Lantern. The Dream Lantern has found a story for you tonight. So, for a little while, you do not need to think about tomorrow. You do not need to solve anything. Let your shoulders become soft. Let your hands rest wherever they feel comfortable. And if your eyes are still open, you may let them close. Tonight, we are going somewhere quiet. Somewhere that doesn't appear on any map. A place that may have existed only in a dream. And perhaps that is exactly why we can find it. Long ago, in a small town surrounded by gentle hills, there was an old railway station. It stood at the very edge of town. Behind it were fields of tall grass. In front of it was a narrow road that disappeared into the trees. The station was called Bellwether. It was not a large station. There were no grand halls, no busy crowds, only one wooden platform, one little ticket office, and a lock that was always 5 minutes slow. Every evening, when the sun had gone down, the station became very quiet. The last footsteps faded. The last bicycles rolled home. The little shops closed their doors, and the town settled into sleep. But once each night, just before midnight, something unusual happened. A train arrived. It was an old train. Its dark blue carriages were polished but worn. Its windows glowed with a warm golden light. And above the engine was a small brass lamp. The train never appeared on the train station schedule. No one knew where it came from. No one knew where it went. Most people in the town had never seen it. But there was one person who had. His name was Elian. Elian was a young man who worked in the station's little ticket office. He had worked there for many years. He knew every sound the station made. He knew the creak of platform boards. He knew the soft whistle of the wind beneath the roof. He knew the exact sound of the station lock when it moved from 1 minute to the next. And he knew the sound of the midnight train. It was a gentle sound. First came a distant bell. Then came the quiet rhythm of wheels. Click, clack, click, clack. Then, slowly, the train appeared from the darkness. It always stopped at the same place, exactly beneath the old station lamp. Elian had seen it many times, but he had never boarded until one autumn evening. That evening, rain had been falling since sunset. It was not a heavy rain. It was the kind that whispered against the windows. The kind that made the whole world feel smaller and warmer. Elian sat alone in the ticket office. A small lamp glowed beside him. A cup of tea rested on the desk. Steam rose slowly from the surface. The station clock moved closer to midnight. 11:55. Elian looked through the window. The platform was empty. 11:56. Rain touched the glass. 11:57. The trees beyond the station swayed gently. 11:58. Elian heard something. A bell. Very far away, the sound came again. Soft, almost hidden beneath the rain. 11:59. Elian stood. He opened the office door. Cold evening air entered the room. He stepped onto the platform. The rain had almost stopped, and then he saw the light far down the railway line. One small golden light growing slowly brighter. The train was coming. Elian watched it approach. It made almost no sound. There was no loud whistle, no rush of wind, only the soft rhythm of wheels. Click, clack, click, clack. The train entered the station. It stopped. The golden windows reflected on the wet platform. For a moment, everything was still. Then, one carriage door opened. A warm light spilled onto the platform. Elian looked around. There was nobody else. He stepped forward. He placed one hand on the railing and climbed aboard. Inside, the train was warmer than he expected. The seats were covered in dark green fabric. Small lamps hung from the ceiling. The light was soft and golden. There was no advertisements, no signs, no modern locks. Only little brass numbers above the doors. Carriage 1, Carriage 2, Carriage 3. Elian walked slowly through the first carriage. It was almost empty. A woman sat beside a window. She wore a long grey coat. An old man slept peacefully in the corner. A little boy was looking at the rain on the glass. No one seemed surprised to see Elian. The woman beside the window looked up. She smiled. "You are going to the quiet place," she said. Elian paused. "What quiet place?" She looked toward the front of the rain, the place that was never built. Then she returned her eyes to the window. Elian did not ask another question. He found an empty seat. He sat down. The door closed. The train began to move. Slowly, very slowly. The station slipped away. The golden lamps outside became smaller. The town disappeared behind the trees. And soon there was only darkness beyond the windows. Elian leaned back. The train rocked gently beneath him. Click, clack, click, clack. His breathing became slower. The warm carriage made him feel peaceful. Outside, the rain began again. Tiny drops moved across the window. Some became long silver lines. Others disappeared almost immediately. Elian watched them. He did not know how long he had been watching. Time felt different on the train. There was no need to hurry. After a while, the woman beside the window spoke again. "The train only travels when someone needs to rest." Elian looked at her. "Where does it go?" She smiled. "Somewhere people once dreamed about." She pointed toward the window. "Long ago, a town planned to build a beautiful place beyond the northern hills." "What kind of place?" he asked. "A garden." She paused. "With a library." Another pause. "And a little station." Elian smiled. "Another station?" "Yes." The woman laughed softly. People wanted a place where anyone could come and forget the noise of the world. Elian looked outside. Why was it never built? Plans changed. She looked back toward the rain. People became busy, and eventually everyone forgot. The train continued through the darkness. Click, clack, click, clack. But dreams do not always disappear, the woman said. Sometimes they simply wait. The train traveled through a forest. Tall trees stood on both sides of the railway. Their branches reached toward each other above the tracks. Moonlight passed between them. Elian could see small streams running beside the railway. He saw stones shining with rain. He saw quiet fields. He saw distant hills covered in mist. Everything seemed familiar. And yet, he had never been there before. Eventually, the forest became thinner. The train climbed gently. The tracks curved around the side of a hill. Below them, a valley opened. A silver river moved through it. Tiny lights appeared along the riverbank. One, then another, then another. They looked like lanterns. Elian watched them in wonder. What are those? The old man, who had been sleeping, opened his eyes. Lights from houses that we never built. Then he closed his eyes again. Elian smiled. Perhaps he was dreaming. Perhaps that was a load. The train continued upward. The wheels became quieter. The lamps inside the carriage seemed softer. Elian felt sleepy. He rested his head against the window. The glass was cool. The sound of the train was gentle. Click, clack, click, clack. His thoughts began to drift. He remembered small things. The smell of bread in the morning. A warm cup of tea. The sound of rain. A quiet room. A familiar voice. Things he had forgotten he remembered. The train seemed to carry all those little memories with him, not pulling him backward, just letting them pass, like clouds moving across a night sky. At last, the train slowed. A small bell rang. The passengers lifted their heads. The woman stood. "We are here." Elian looked outside. There was a platform. It was small, very small. A single lantern hung above it. Beyond the platform was a wide garden, and beyond the garden stood a beautiful stone building. It had tall windows, a rounded roof, and warm lights glowing inside. Above the entrance were 3 simple words: "The quiet place." Elian stepped from the train. The air was cool. The rain had stopped. The entire world smelled of wet earth and leaves. The train waited behind him. Its windows glowed softly. No one rushed. No one spoke loudly. The passengers simply walked toward the garden. Elian followed. The garden was enormous. Paths curved between tall trees. Small ponds reflected the moon. White flowers grew beside the path. Tiny lanterns hung from branches. The light moved gently in the breeze. There were benches beneath the trees. They were lit in wooden bridges. There were quiet fountains. Everything had been designed for slowness. Nothing asked to be hurried. Elian walked along one of the paths. He heard water. He heard leaves. He heard distant birds. And somewhere behind him, he could still hear the tree. Click, clack, click, clack. The sound became softer, then softer still, until it blended with the wind. The stone building was a library. Inside, there were thousands of books. They stood on tall wooden shelves. Some were new, some were very old. Some had no titles. Elian walked between the shelves. A librarian sat at a desk. She looked up and smiled. Welcome. Can anyone come here? Anyone who needs quiet place, she answered. Elian looked around. What do people read? The librarian pointed toward the shelves. Whatever helps them rest. Elian found a book with a blue cover. He opened it. The pages were blank. He turned another page. Still blank. He smiled. What is this book? He asked. The book of unfinished thoughts. Elian gently closed it. He understood. Some thoughts did not need to be finished. Some questions could remain unanswered. Some days could simply end. He walked deeper into the library. At the very back was a large window. Beyond it was a garden. A small wooden chair stood beside the window. Elian sat down. Moonlight rested on the floor. He listened to the quiet. For the first time in many years, he noticed something. He was not waiting for anything. There was no schedule, no appointment, no task, no tomorrow to prepare for. There was only this moment. This chair, this window, this quiet garden, and the soft sound of rain beginning again. Elian stayed there for a long time. He watched the rain fall. The garden became misty. The lanterns glowed through the mist. Drops gathered on the window. The sound was soft, steady, comforting. Elian's eyes became heavy. The librarian brought him a blanket. Rest, she said. You can stay as long as you need. Elian thanked her. He wrapped the blanket around his shoulders. Then he closed his eyes. The library became even quieter. He could hear the rain. He could hear the faint ticking of a lock somewhere nearby. He could hear the gentle movement of beats, and beneath everything else, he could hear the distant train. Click, clack, click, clack. When Elian opened his eyes again, the rain had stopped. Morning had not arrived. It was still night, but the sky had become lighter. A pale blue glow rested above the trees. The librarian was standing near the door. The train will leave soon. Elian stood. He walked back through the library. He passed the empty shelves. He passed the quiet rooms. He stepped into the garden. The lanterns were still glowing. The paths were wet with the rain. Everything looked peaceful. At the end of the garden, the little station waited. The train stood beside it. Its golden windows were warm. Elian climbed aboard. He found the same seat. The woman was there. The old man was there. The little boy was asleep beside the window. No one spoke. The doors closed, and the train began its journey home. The return journey felt even quieter. Elian watched the hills pass. The mist moved slowly through the valleys. The river shone beneath the moon. The forest welcomed the train. The wheels kept their gentle rhythm. Click, clack, click, clack. Elian closed his eyes. He no longer wondered where the train was going. He knew it was going home. And perhaps home was not always a place. Perhaps sometimes home was simply the feeling of being allowed to rest. The train traveled through the darkness, slowly, gently, without hurry. At last, the lights of Bellwether appeared. The old station waited beneath its roof. The train stopped. Elian stepped onto the platform. The air smelled of rain. The town was silent. The station lock still showed the wrong time. 5 minutes slow. Elian smiled. Some things did not need fixing. He walked back into the ticket office. His little lamp was still glowing. His cup of tea was still on the desk. It had gone cold. He did not mind. He sat down. Outside, the train waited for one final movement. Elian looked toward it. The conductor raised his hand. The train began to move. Click, clack, click, clack. Soon, it disappeared into the darkness. Elian watched until the last golden light was gone. Then he closed the door, and the station became quiet again. After that night, Elian continued working at Bellwether Station. He never told anyone about the train. There was no need. But sometimes, when someone looked tired, he would leave the station lamp burning a little longer. Sometimes, he would make a cup of tea. Sometimes, he would simply sit quietly with them. He had learned something important. Not every journey needs a destination. Not every train needs to become real. And not every unfinished thing needs to be finished. Some dreams are simply places where the heart can rest. Years passed. The station became older. The tone changed. New houses appeared. Old houses disappeared. The road became wider. The trees grew taller. But every night, just before midnight, Elian listened. And sometimes, when the rain was soft and the world was quiet, he heard it. A distant bell, and the gentle sound of wheels. Click, clack, click, clack. The last train would arrive. It would stop beneath the old lamp. Its golden windows would glow. And somewhere, beyond the northern hills, the place that was never built would still be waiting. Quietly, patiently, with its library, its garden, its little lanterns, and a chair beside the window, waiting for anyone who needed a little rest. And now, the train has gone. The garden is quiet. The library is warm. The rain has become softer. The lanterns are glowing beneath the trees. And somewhere far away, the last train is traveling slowly through the night. You do not need to follow it. You can simply imagine it. Imagine the warm golden windows. Imagine the soft green seats. Imagine the gentle rhythm beneath you. Click, clack, click, clack. There is nowhere you need to hurry toward. Nothing you need to solve tonight. Tomorrow can wait. The unfinished things can wait. The questions can wait. For now, you can rest. Let your breathing become slow. Let your body become heavy. Let the quiet gather around you. Perhaps There's a little place inside you that was never built either. A peaceful garden, a quiet library, a small room with a warm lamp. You do not have to build it tonight. You only have to imagine that it is there. And perhaps somewhere in the deepest part of your dreams, the last train is already waiting. Its doors are open. Its windows are warm. The rain is falling softly against the glass. And there is a comfortable seat waiting just for you. So, let the night carry you there. Let your thoughts pass like distant clouds. Let the day become smaller. Let the room become quieter. And when sleep comes, you do not need to hold onto anything. You can simply let go. The train can travel without you watching. The rain can fall without you listening. The lantern can glow without you keeping your eyes open. Everything can continue peacefully while you rest. And somewhere beyond the hills, in a place that was never built, the garden remains quiet. The library remains warm. The little station remains still. And the lantern remains lit, waiting patiently, not asking anything from you, only reminding you that there will always be somewhere quiet to return to. Even if that place exists only in a dream, especially then. Good night. Rest now. The lantern will be waiting for you tomorrow night. Sleep well.